Hola or hello and welcome to Spanish Language Learning. My name is Sara and I'm here to be your little guide throughout your experience of Spanish learning here with Celebrity Cruises. So throughout our course, we're going to try and immerse ourselves as much as possible in Spanish. And for that, you're going to have with you this little Spanish notebook. All of it is in Spanish. We're going to try and steer away as much as possible from your native language and have everything in Spanish. This will make it easier as well for those of you whose first language isn't English in order to write down as many notes as you like besides each of the Spanish words. Now we're going to follow the course throughout with the program, with the PowerPoint that you have in front of you, and we're going to do a few exercises as we go on, trying to really reiterate everything that we're learning as we progress through Spanish. Now we have already done a few classes, but we're going to move on onto a very interesting topic that I think you're going to find particularly in your work, even when you get out in port, which is actually being at the restaurant. So let's move on and have a look at that. How do we say restaurant in Spanish? En el restaurante. That's right. We looked at the alphabet, we went through all of the letters, and remember how each one of them is pronounced. We're going to try and do that together. So let's begin with this one together. En el restaurante. That's it. Fantastic. Okay. So, as you can see here, as we begin, we have el restaurante, and we also have cubiertos. Now, judging by the image in front of you, using a bit of our intuition, okay? What do we think cubierto means? That's right, exactly, cutlery. So we have, remember, in Spanish, it's always a little bit different. So, el cubierto and los cubiertos. What is the difference? This one is plural. That's right. In Spanish, we don't have cutlery like in English, that is just the one word. We actually differentiate everything. Therefore, we have the singular, el cubierto, which is, that's right, the cutlery or the piece of cutlery, and un cubierto, a piece of cutlery. Moving on to our plural, we have los cubiertos and unos cubiertos, the cutlery, a cutlery. Okay, in plural. Okay, so moving on, as you can see in your little notebook, you have a series of pictures. Let's go through them together before we begin doing a few exercises. So we have tenedor. That's right, repeat it after me, tenedor. Muy bien. Continuamos. Cuchillo. Now remember this one, it has the double L, that j kind of sound. Cuchara. That's right. Cucharita. What does everything with ita at the end mean? That's right, small. Well done. Moving on. Plato. Muy bien. Copa. That's right. Vaso. What is the difference? What do you note here between copa and vaso? That's right. Copa is like a drinking glass where we put wine in and so on. And on the other hand, vaso would be your average glass that you can drink water in or anything else. Let's continue. Servilleta. Sounds very similar to English. Exactly. Try and always refer back to those words. Remember, this is a Latin-based language. Therefore, some words will be similar. Servilleta, very similar to serviette. Exactly. Moving on. Mantel. Silla. Mesa. And bandeja. Anybody here working in the restaurant will know bandeja is your tray. That's right. And then a very, very simple one to remember. Menú. O carta. Now, try to remember the pronunciation. It's a little different. So, menú or carta for our menu. Okay, so let's have a look at what we have here. What do we have on our slide? Let's look. What is the first one? You can still refer back to your images here, if that makes it easier. We're just trying to really install this into our brains. So, let's have a look at the first one. The first one is, that's right, you got it, tenedor. Muy bien. Let's continue. What's our next one? Cuchara. Muy bien. All right, what about next? What is that in English? A knife. What is it in Spanish? That's right, cuchillo. Muy bien. Continuamos. Next one, what do we have? Mantel. Muy bien. Good job, guys. And moving on, silla. Perfect. What's our next one? Plato. Muy bien. All right, let's try and repeat these together. Reiterate it. Tenedor. Cuchara. Cuchillo. Muy bien. Let's try that one again. Cuchillo. Excellent. Okay. Mantel. Silla. Plato. Muy bien. Good job. All right. Let's move on. Now, remember we had all of the different times of the day. So let's look now at what type of dinners we have throughout that day, whether we have breakfast, lunch, evening dinner, and so on. We have comida in general. Comida is food. Now, remember this one, because it's going to change a little bit later. And we also have comidas in plural, meaning meals. So comida all on its own is the food itself. And comidas, making it a plural, we turn it into meals. So what we're going to see right now is the different comidas throughout the day. We also have our verb. Now remember these verbs, we've looked at them before. Comer is to eat. So let's move on with that. What comidas do we have throughout the day? Mañana. What was mañana? Morning, exactly. What do we do in the morning? Have breakfast. So we have desayuno. And this is very, very similar, in fact, to what it means in English. Ayuno means fast. Desayuno, break the fast, breakfast. So very, very similar again. Desayuno. What do we say? Desayunar. That is the verb. So desayuno is breakfast. Desayunar is to have breakfast. Exactly. Well done. Moving on. We have tarde. Tarde is the afternoon. Exactly right. So we have comida. You see how we're seeing comida again. But in this context, it means lunch. So your meal, your main meal of the day, your afternoon meal, so to speak. Now, also remember, yes, there are a lot of words that repeat themselves sometimes, but within the context of the sentence, we can tell what it means. We can say, this is comida, meaning lunch. Okay? And what do we do? Comer. Exactly. Moving on, I'm also going to include this one for you because we're going to be faced with people who are from Latin America too, that speak Latin American Spanish. The differences are small. It's a little bit like American English and English from Britain. The English in Britain will say shop. The American English will say store. It's those kinds of differences. So I really want to show you both so that if you're faced with somebody that comes from Latin America, you can actually communicate with them easier. So what we're studying right now is traditional sort Spanish, but we're going to look at the words that Latin Americans say too. They will say for lunch, almuerzo. Now this one you can use regardless, but this is more common in Latin America. And what is the verb going to be? It's going to end in a that's right. Well done. Good job, Andrew. So, almorzar is our verb for it. So let's try these together, how we've gone so far. We have mañana, desayuno, desayunar. All right, moving on. Tarde, comida, comer. Muy bien. Continuamos. Tarde, almuerzo, almorzar. What about now? What do we have? Noche, exactly right. Noche, we have cena. Sorry, write it down. Yeah, you can make a note of it if you like. We have cena. Remember this C. It sounds a little bit like the TH in English. Cena. But what are you going to find as well in Latin America? Pronounced very similar to an S. So bear that in mind, okay? And if it's easier for you to pronounce it a little bit like an S, that works too. So, you know, try and make your life as easy as possible to remember this language. So we have noche, cena. What is the verb going to be? Ending in N? That's right. So we have cenar. All right. Fantastic. Now, let's move on to one of the exercises. Please turn to your last page. And we have our exercise. We have here desayuno, comida, almuerzo, and cena. Now, right next to it, I'd like you to first write, and we can do this together now if you like, what the verb is. Okay? What is the verb? The first one that we have is desayuno. So what is the verb? Desayunar. That's right, exactly. Now, not on the screen this time. How are we going to greet somebody at breakfast? How are we going to say hello in desayuno? Going to say, what time is it at? Exactly, in the morning. So, buenos días. Muy bien, muy bien. Continuamos. Write that down if you like. Continuamos. Comida. How are we going to say it? Comer. Muy bien. And buenas tardes. Exactly. All we're doing is just taking these here. Moving on, almuerzo. What are we going to say is the same thing? Exactly, almorzar and buenas tardes again. And moving on to our final one, cena. What is it going to be? Cenar, muy bien. And buenas noches, exactly. However, though, to be quite honest with you, if you're reaching this around, 6 p.m. on our earlier seating, I would probably recommend buenas tardes because in a lot of Latin countries, we don't consider nighttime like we looked at when we did the times until later on, let's say 8 p.m., 9 p.m. So maybe it's a good idea also at 6 p.m. You can also use buenas tardes. But we have our general one that you can never go wrong with, which is, that's right, you got it, which is buenas. Buenas. Just simply with that, it works every time. So if you're a little bit stuck at the time for what to say, just remember that one. But I have faith in you. I know you can do it. So let's move on. What was por la? What did it mean? In the, exactly. Well, it roughly means that. In the morning actually means through the morning, but that's just how the expression is said in Spanish. So, por la mañana, what do we do? Desayuno, exactly. Por la tarde, what do we do? Comida. Again, what do we do por la tarde? Muy bien, almuerzo. And to finish off, por la noche, what do we do? Cena. All right, let's do these together one more time. Por la mañana, desayuno. That's right, repeat with me. Muy bien. Por la tarde, comida. Por la tarde, almuerzo. Por la noche, cena. Muy bien. Remember that C and H. It's one letter. It makes that ch kind of sound. So let's try that again. Por la noche, cena. Muy bien. Okay. Let's move back to where we were before. As you can see, we have a lot more vocabulary here at the bottom that we're going to look at too briefly. So we have huevo. What is huevo? Egg. Exactly. Right. I'm going to leave these to you. I know you can already pronounce a lot of things in Spanish. So you tell me, how is the next one pronounced? That's right. You got it. Salchicha. Continuamos. What's the next one? What does that picture mean? That's right. Meat, beef, steak. It's usually meat in general. So we have carne. That's right. Moving on. Pescado. Muy bien. Pasta. Come on. Very, very, very easy to remember that one. That's right. Sopa. What does that mean? Soup. Exactly. So again, a lot of similarities with the English language. Moving on. How do you pronounce this next one? You got it. Arroz. Muy bien. What about next? What do we have? Verduras. Verduras. Perfect. Next. Ensalada. So remember, really similar to English again. Salad, ensalada. Next, what do we have? Tostada. Exactly. This is toast. So something that's been toasted, usually bread. And then we have pan. That's right. Any type of bread, whether it's baguette, white bread, any type of bread, we have pan. So let's turn the page, actually, so we can follow this a little bit better. And we're going to have, remember how we did the class on going shopping. For those of you that are in the shops, that was, I think, quite helpful. But we're going to take it a little bit further now with ordering things in a restaurant. So we have, in our picture, our two little kids, and we have, quiero una Coca-Cola, por favor. That's right, we know that one. We remember quiero. Now, how are they going to ask us, what do you want? Yes, you could say, ¿qué quiere? What do you want? But that sounds a little bit, I wouldn't go as far as rude, but it's a little bit shocking. It's just far more polite to say, ¿qué desea? Desea. Desea, really what it means is, what do you wish? What do you wish for? And it just sounds so much nicer, so much more welcoming. You're really trying to offer as much as you can to the person who you're taking the order from. So, ¿qué desea? Is going to give you that whole different, let's say, aspect about ordering. So let's try this again. ¿Qué desea? Quiero una Coca-Cola, por favor. That's right. Okay. Let's move on. What do we have next? ¿Qué desea de primero? So again, we have ¿qué desea? Primero is first. So what do you want as your main, your starter, your beginning of the meal? What am I going to say? Quiero unos huevos, por favor. Starting strong. Quiero unos huevos. What does that mean? That's right. I want some eggs. Yeah, you can just refer back to the vocabulary. The idea now is, you're more than welcome to just make mistakes. This isn't a test. This is for you to try and you start using the language. So if you need to look at them again, that is absolutely fine. Okay, moving on. ¿Qué desea de? What do we have here? We have some more dishes. We have segundo. What does that mean? Second, exactly. So what would you like for second, for your main course? ¿Qué desea de? Postre. Postre is dessert. Okay, your last thing. The sweet, the dessert. All right, let's move on a little bit further, and we're going to continue with the times. Now remember, we've already looked at the times and the clock and how everything works. So we have, ¿a qué hora es el desayuno? What was a qué hora? Exactly, at what time? Es el desayuno. Yeah, there you go. See, we're putting everything together now that we've been learning, putting the puzzle together and starting to work with the vocabulary. ¿A qué hora es el desayuno? Entre las 8 y las 9:30. What's that mean? Exactly. In between 8 and 9:30. All right? If any of you want to go over the times at any point, just let me know. We can always meet up a little bit before the class to run through that. But like I've told you before, you really, really need to put everything that we're learning into practice. None of this is really going to work unless you keep practicing and practicing. And yes, you will get it wrong 3, 4 times, but the 5th time, you are going to get it correct. So I cannot encourage you enough to really, really invest your time in that, because everything else is useless unless you really, really practice. Let's move on. ¿A qué hora es el almuerzo? What was almuerzo? Lunch, exactly. ¿A qué hora es la cena? Peter, ¿a qué hora es la cena en el barco? A las 6, muy bien. Y a las 8, perfecto. Okay. Continuamos. Let's change a little bit now. We're going to start looking at what you like and what you don't like. So we have gusta and no me gusta. Remember this one? That's right. Me gusta, te gusta. What does te gusta you like exactly? Me gusta, te gusta. What are we going to do to make it a negative? Very, very easy. We're just going to add no in front of it. Very simple. Me gusta, no me gusta. Te gusta, no te gusta. How do we use the polite form? Always in the 3rd person. So really, the one that we're really, really going to try and use as much as possible is le gusta and no le gusta. Okay? Fantastic. Now, remember that when we were looking at asking questions in Spanish, we do not need to change the grammar. All we do is change the intonation. We did a few exercises for this, so I know you can do this one. How are we going to say the statement? Le gusta. How are we going to ask the question? Le gusta? No need for the hands, but you know what I mean. So we have le gusta, le gusta. You see how we're going, how we're escalating in our tone there? How are we going to do the next one? No le gusta, no le gusta, whenever we're asking the question. Exactly. So let's move on now to the exercise that we have next. We've learned a lot of vocabulary, those few dishes and ingredients and so on with the pasta, sopa, etc. Now, write down briefly which ones you like and which ones you don't like. So take a second to do that. Okay, fantastic. Which ones do you like? Andrew, we'll start with you. ¿Qué te gusta, Andrew? ¿Te gusta la ensalada? Y la sopa. Very healthy. All right, what about you, George? Me gusta la salchicha, muy bien. ¿Con huevos? Sí. Perfecto. Desayuno inglés, as they call it, right? What is that? English breakfast, exactly. A bit of sausage and eggs there for you. All right, let's continue. We also have que le gusta, which is what we just looked at now. All right, let's turn back. Let's go back to our vocabulary. Keep on learning a little bit more. Up next, we're going to look at ordering. We have here a scene. All right, we have our waiter and our couple. And they're saying, and the waiter is asking, ¿Le gusta la pasta? What is the guest or the person going to say? No, no me gusta. Desea cambiarlo. Right, remember when we did the shopping? We had cambio, which was change, exactly. So, judging by what we know already, what do we think cambiarlo is going to mean? Something about change, right? Something to do with change. Exactly. So, desea cambiarlo is, do you wish to change it? Yes, that's right. Sí, por favor. Okay. Vale. ¿Qué desea? Quiero el pescado. I want fish. Exactly. All right. So, actually, before we move on there, I'd actually like to go over this one together. So, ¿le gusta la pasta? Try it with me. Muy bien. No, no me gusta. Continuamos. ¿Desea cambiarlo? Sí, por favor. You're hearing that? Like how in our tone we're changing, we're escalating it. Okay, ¿qué desea? Quiero el pescado. All right, moving on up next, we have más frío, está frío. What do we think, judging by that? Exactly, más means more. So, frío is cold. I want it colder, más frío. Está frío, on the other hand, is it is cold. Remember, está is the temporary form of to be. So, está frío. What about our next one? Más caliente, hotter. That's right. Warmer. Warmer. Remember that one, okay? This doesn't mean I'm hot. Okay, that's a different word. We're using calor for that. Calor. But don't worry about that. We're going to look at that in another class. Let's concentrate on this now. Más caliente, warmer. I want it hotter. Caliente is for something that I can feel, an item, okay? Not myself, how I'm feeling. And está caliente, it's warm. Okay, let's finish off looking at the end of our meal. We have la cuenta. La cuenta is the bill, exactly. And propina, I know this one will come in handy for a lot of you, is tip. Exactly, right, absolutely, write it down. Propina. La cuenta, por favor. What am I saying? The bill, please, exactly. And cuánto es, remember this one, we looked at this one when we did shopping. How much is it? La cuenta, por favor, you're actually asking for the bill. This you're going to find a lot more in a restaurant type of environment. While on the other hand, cuánto es, how much is it? Really more in a shopping sort of a trading environment. Voy a chequear. I'm going to check. Ahora vuelvo. I will be right back. So I'm going to say voy a chequear. Ahora vuelvo. I'm going to go and check. Remember, it sounds a bit similar. Let's try and think of it that way. Then we have ahora vuelvo. I'll be right back. Ahora viene. He or she or something will be right back. Okay, so before we move on to practice, remember I've reminded you of this. We're going to do a little bit of a conversation scenario. So we have our first scenario here. You, as a guest, you're going to ask what you want to know at what time lunch is. So ask me. ¿A qué hora es la comida? Muy bien. O el almuerzo. Exactly. Now you as the waiter, you're going to tell him or her that it's from 12 to 1:30 at the Moonlight Sonata and from 12 to 3 at Ocean View. Tell me that one. If you want to write it down first, maybe it might be easier for you, and then we can say it together. That's right. Okay. Entre las 12 y las 12:30 en el Moonlight Sonata. Y entre las 12 y las 3 en Ocean View. Muy bien. Okay. Tell him you want to have breakfast and place your order. You want scrambled eggs. We have it there. Huevos revueltos. All right, so let's try that one. Tell him you want to have breakfast and place your order. Quiero desayunar. Muy bien. Okay. Quiero huevos revueltos. All right, well done. Now the rest of them, I'm going to leave them for you to do on your own when you're actually out of the class, so you can do within your own time, really test yourselves, and then come back next class, we'll review it, we'll go through them and see where we can improve. But before we finish off, we're going to do a little bit of a reading and listening comprehension. I'm going to read out some text to you, and you have some questions just below it. So I'd like you to answer them. Listen out, but you have it written also right here. So listen out to me. Hola, buenos días. Mi nombre es Pedro y soy un huésped en este barco. Me gusta mucho el desayuno en el restaurante. Está riquísimo. Mi camarero se llama Abu y es muy bueno. Para desayunar me gustan los huevos. Para almorzar, mi camarero me recomienda el buffet en el Ocean View Café en el piso 14. What is another one for piso? Cubierta, exactly, it means deck. Good job. El menú es muy bueno. Por la noche me gusta cenar pronto, a las 7, con un vaso de vino. Me gusta la carne muy hecha. All right, we've got it here as well, so don't hesitate to ask any questions if you have any. Who is Pedro? He's a guest, exactly. Moving on, where does he like to have breakfast? That's right, in the Ocean View Cafe. Good job. What did his waiter recommend him? Yes, that's right. Exactly. And moving on, how does he like his meat cooked? Muy hecha. All right, team. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time once again. I really hope that you've enjoyed the class. I look forward to seeing you next time. If you have any questions, you can come and see me now at the end. And remember, if you do struggle with any of the exercises, we can definitely look at them. Just come a little bit before the class and we'll go through them together. Now, once again, please practice. It is your best tool. It's the best way to learn. Thank you so much and have a great day. Thank you.